Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is July 23rd, 2019. Happy Tuesday to everybody out there. Let's get right into our broadcast for today. Our evening edition here at the Grand Solar Minimum, where all the links to tonight's topics will be displayed here so you guys can go back and re-verify for yourself. Our solar wind speeds are sitting at 421.8 kilometers per second with a density of 1.9. KP indices right now are sitting at a 1 with a 24-hour max of a 2. And taking a look at our sun, we do have a sunspot number 11. This is active region 2745. It poses no threats to any large solar flares. Also, this breaks a long consecutive streak of days without sunspots. We have now hit the reset button, but still sit at 132 days in 2019 without sunspots. And taking a look at our TCI, it has gone up just a little bit. We've been seeing readings in the 2.76 range, now jumping up to a 2.83. Remember, the record lowest cold minimum was 2.05 in February of 2009, which was the last minimum that we went through. Just a regular minimum, not a grand solar. All right, let's go over to the space weather section here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Taking a look at our planetary alignment. And here is pretty much our solar activity is very, very quiet. KP is not getting past 2. Looking at the SDO in motion, we have a couple of areas to watch. Nothing really crazy, though, as far as coronal holes go. So nothing to expect any kind of geomagnetic activity or solar wind speeds unless we get some kind of freak CME from any active region. But right now we look all good. And taking a look at around the eastern limb, where that area of coronal hole I thought we'd have to worry about is now approaching and pretty active towards the negative 180. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if there's anything that comes out of this. But a little bit of action coming around from the eastern limb from our sun, so we'll keep our eyes on it right now. The current space weather has been quiet. It will continue to stay that way. And let's take a look at our TSI readings here for this appears to be July, bear with me, July 14th, 2019. Our TSI came in at a 1360.63. So we were peaked out for a little bit around the 0.825 region. Since then, we have dropped ever so slightly. And right now, it does appear that we are continuing a downward trend, especially over the last several days here in TSI. All right, let's get right back over to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Just give you guys a quick little look here at the TCI, the Thermosphere Climate Index. And I know recently we've been covering that. We wanted to show you guys where we were as far as compared to the last minimum. And I'll go ahead and show you. This was the last minimum, pretty deep. And here we are heading into this current minimum, which is predicted to bottom out still. So we are just at the beginning of solar minimum of solar cycle, beginning of solar cycle 25 here within the next 6 months or so. All right, let's get right to it, guys. We got some news to cover around the world, like always. We'll start off with watchers.news. They always seem to have the most coverage as far as worldwide headlines. South African Weather Service issued severe weather warnings and watches for part of the country as an intense cold front currently positioned southwest of South Africa is expected to make landfall overnight, July 22nd into the 23rd, which was today, with a second front following closely. The cold fronts are expected to result in significant drop in temperatures, windy and wet condition, as well as snow in the western and southern parts of the country. Now, again, it's winter in the southern hemisphere, so this is not too unusual to get African southern snow at this point of the year. It's very hot to the equator in the northern part of Africa, make no mistake. Cold, wet, and windy conditions will be felt first in western and North Cape on Tuesday, July 23rd, and will spread into the central parts of the country by July 24th. with a significant drop in temperatures. The fronts are expected to be accompanied by strong winds from July 22nd through the 24th over the western Cape of central and western parts of northern and eastern Cape provinces. The strong winds, reaching around 40 to 46 miles per hour, could lead to damage of settlements, both formal and informal, possible structure damage, especially temporary structures, interruptions to power utilities, as well as an increase in travel times due to falling trees, reduced visibility from the dust storms. Susceptible roads could also be closed during this time, SAWS meteorologists have warned. This past weekend saw some snow reaching the ground in various hilly areas in the Western Cape. Further snow is expected once again in similar areas starting Tuesday evening, that's tonight, and possibly reaching more than 3.9 inches in places. Peru Hogland is the area they're predicting the snowfall, as well as Cedarburg and Langerberg as well. This could lead to icy roads and possible loss of vulnerable livestock, as well as non-major passes being closed for a short period of time. The snow is expected to spread eastward into the eastern Cape by Tuesday evening, reaching Schneeberg and southern Drakensberg. The rainfall will mainly be confined to the western and southern parts of the country. Western, northern, eastern Cape will be clear by Thursday, July 25th. But the bulk of the rainfall will occur in the western parts of the Western Cape on July 23rd today, and could be heavy at times, leading to flooding of roads and informal settlements, as well as causing major traffic disruptions. There is also the possibility for rock slides and mudslides as well. And we have reports here, local time. We see different cities, heavy rain, reporting flooding. Flooding just about everywhere in local time, damaging winds. Coastal flooding as well. Cape Town dams refilling thanks to this rain. Lots of useful charts and graphs here. Check out watchers.news for the full details of this story, brought to you by watchers.news. And intense cold to severe flooding, death toll in India and Nepal and Bangladesh surpasses 300. This is continuing coverage from this region. Take a look at this picture, says it all, folks, unfortunately. See if I can zoom this in a little bit. This is what we see right here. Inland, flooded, coastline. And right now, if it wasn't for the trees, we wouldn't be able to see this line right here. So the situation just goes from worse to even more complications with flooding. Death toll is rising now. Vast parts of the eastern India have been affected by heavy rains and floods over the past 2 weeks, claiming the lives of at least 200 people. 7.27 million people have been affected. 102 have lost their lives in the state of Bihar. 3.8 million were affected and 64 million killed in Assam. 32 died in Uttar Pradesh, several in Tripura and Mizoram. Tons of footage here, folks. Heavy rains in Bangladesh have left 47 people dead, at least 90 dead in Nepal. The water levels of two rivers, Padma and Jamuna, are increasing as reported by the Bangladesh Water Development Board. Authorities are finding it extremely difficult to provide relief supplies to the affected people. According to the Deputy Commissioner of Bogra and District in Bangladesh, there are ample relief materials, but the main issue is to get relief to the people. There is an immense shortage of transportation facilities to cover the regions that are submerged underwater. The floods in Sharagang and Tangail regions may cause havoc together with four other regions as well. And here is a look at tropical tidbits with the amount of moisture that is expected in this area. And these are the kind of maps we were seeing here for the lower 48 back in the spring, April, May, and early June, where it just felt like the rain just kept coming down. The yellow indicates along the lines of close to 2 feet of rain to fall within the next 14 days in this region. So not only have the flood rains have been coming down for several weeks already, they're not going to let up at any point. And the flooding is going to continue to get worse. And right now, this is turning into a really big crisis when it comes to getting relief aid to people who need it right now, As you can see right here, what roads, where are they traveling? This is all boat area now. Leave the link in the description on the website. And Ubinus volcano, strong volcanic ash pushes up to around 31,000 feet in Peru. The explosion ejected material on the slopes of the volcano. Volcanic ash rose about the height of 31,000 feet above sea level, drifting east and southeast. This happened at 2300, actually 434 UTC on July 23rd, 2019. This is now the second eruption since July 19th. And the July 19th eruption was impressive by itself. 43,000 feet was the first ejection, ash plume. And of course, today is 31,000. That just missed the threshold of most climate impact as far as the ash cloud goes. It starts at 32,000 and goes up. Obviously, the higher up the ash cloud is, the more problems we're going to see. When you're talking about 50 and 60,000, 70,000, 80,000 ash plumes, that's where we could see a really serious effect on the local climate around that particular region. When you start getting over 120 or 110 to 120,000, now you're talking about climate issues for multiple parts of the world as well. So we haven't seen that big of an eruption just yet. But as I've stated before on previous programs, if you've read the book Upheaval by John Casey, which by the way is available at Amazon, check out the link on our website here. Next to the articles, you'll see it along with David Dubine's new book, Climate Revolution. But in his book, John Casey talks about the prediction of a major VEI, I believe 7 or higher, of between now and 2037. And we have definitely seen an uptick in volcanic activity as well as earthquakes. We're still seeing swarms of earthquakes near Southern California. It's still rocking and rolling. It's definitely calmed down since we had the two big ones, the 6.4 and the 7.1. We expected a third one of around 7.5 or higher. That did not happen. The energy transfer that we were expecting didn't happen either. So there were a couple of things that the unexpected happened when it wasn't expected. And that happens, unfortunately, you know. No matter how much of an expert you are in your field, the unexpected can happen. A lot of times folks just don't account for that when they're forecasting things. And, you know, when someone misses a forecast on something, it's going to happen, especially if this is what they do for a living. They're not going to be 100% right. Nobody's 100% right. But anyway, but we are definitely witnessing uptick in volcanic activity, especially since the 19th of July. This same volcano has now had two major eruptions over 30,000 feet. The first one was 43,000. This one's 31,000, along with some other minor eruptions from this particular volcano. So once again, we'll keep our eyes on this particular region. Very impressive explosions now 2 times since July 19th. And just to talk a little bit, since we're talking about earthquakes or volcanoes, let's mention an earthquake that happened on July 23rd, 11:37 UTC time. A shallow 6.0 earthquake hit the Bellini Islands region in Southern Ocean at 10:33 UTC on July 23rd, 2019. The agency is reporting a depth of 6.2 miles. The EMSC registered it at 6.0 with a depth of 18 miles. Tells us where the epicenter was, located about 1,000 miles southwest of Bluff and about 1,100 miles southwest of Inver, Cargill. Population 47,000 people out here, guys, in the middle of the water. There were no tsunami issues. No damage has been reported or any kind of death. Nothing like that. Just another earthquake, thankfully, out in the middle of the ocean. Once again, thanks goes to Watchers.news. Historic severe drought wreaks havoc in parts of Thailand. Kind of important here, folks. Officials observed the situation in the district and found that rice on 79,000 acres have wilted and are on the verge of dying as various sources of water in the district are running dry. According to the governor, if it does not rain this month, the crops will be destroyed, according to the Bangkok Post. This is the worst drought so far this year, the governor had said, urged residents to use water prudently. Some locals are saying that this has been the driest July in 40 years. In order to provide temporary relief, water trucks have been sent to the drought-affected regions, and authorities promise compensation to affected farmers. That does help, but similar reports are coming in from Surin province, where water levels of the Hui Senang Canal, the main lifeline of the reservoir with the same name, are the lowest in 41 years. Residents said it shouldn't last a month. So I know that our prep depends on getting food that is has a long shelf life. And I'm not trying to push the panic button here, folks, whatsoever. Most of the region is flooding and their crops are being damaged. As far as the United States, India, other parts of the world, we've seen crop loss due to floods this year. And a lot of times the word drought gets lost, especially when you're on a topic like grand solar minimum. But as we've reported before, grand solar minimums do host certain regions that do have droughts. And so not all the crop damage is going to be the same. Nonetheless, we're experiencing it in many parts of the world. And we've been talking about this intensely now for the past couple of weeks. And every time we turn around, we also continue to see more crop damage in other parts of the world. The situation does not appear to be getting any better as well.
I need to go on puppy duty.
So,
The puppy Jake.
somebody's doing some paperwork out here, I guess. Sorry about that. All right, so point I'm trying to make is that one of the most important, now this is just one region. I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to push the panic button here, but it is a little concerning when we see rice crops threatened as well. We always figure that that's one crop that just doesn't get damaged or you can do anything to kill it. But this crop here, about 80,000 acres, which is nothing, honestly, folks. It's a drop in the bucket compared to the agricultural acreage that we cover here in the U.S. and other parts of the world. But still, something to pay attention to, as a drought-stricken area may not be able to produce its rice crop this year. And this is just another story to add to the headlines that we've covered this year over and over again about crop loss due to floods, drought, you name it. All right, guys, sit tight. We'll be right back after this quick little tiny break. Don't go anywhere.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform, buy a t-shirt, or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.
All right, now we're back with some climate news here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Witness say broken wind turbine caused several 100-acre fire. And why is this in our broadcast tonight? Well, we continue to talk about the costs of solar and wind, and what dangers do wind turbines serve, you say? Well, we got to worry about the bird population, that several birds do lose their lives because of these windmills here, these turbines. And also, I've seen video of these turbines simply just disintegrating right there in the middle of these fields. Thankfully, there's no buildings, there's no moving traffic around these turbines or anything like that, so these giant pieces from this turbine fall to the ground without hurting or injuring or damaging anything. But I found this article today talking about a large wildfire started because of this turbine. Now, out in the middle of nowhere, The juniper fire is now 40% contained, according to a press release. The fire is mostly burning in Pine Creek drainage area south of Bickleton, Washington. As of Sunday evening, the fire has burned over 242 acres. Again, that's not a lot. 39 structures are threatened by the fire, but no structures have burned. The Pine Creek drainage area is under level 3 evacuation. Crews fighting the fire up against a 28-mile-an-hour wind gust with low humidity, which is ideal for fire weather, folks. 201 total people are working on the fire. Resources will continue to arrive overnight. According to a press release, officials said the cause of the fire is still under investigation. A wildfire in southern Washington has been burned more than 350 acres. This was updated yesterday. And now they are saying the smoke was reported coming from a generator from the wind turbine of Bickleton, Washington. And it looks like Tate County here in Washington, according to a new release from the county emergency management. Fire engulfed the turbine about 300 feet above the ground, causing melted pieces to fall to the ground, igniting grass and brush. According to the release, gusty winds helped spread the wildfire, called the juniper fire, and between 350 and 500 acres by Saturday evening. By 10 p.m., the fire was estimated to be 20% contained. 3 residents were put on a level 3 evacuation notification. Firefighters were stationed at the residences overnight, so very remote area. So why is this making the news? Just like the crop damage that we're seeing in Thailand. It's only 80,000 acres, you say. That's just 80,000 more acres to add to the total so far of crop damage. And here we have another report of, I've seen tons of videos of these turbines just catching fire, malfunctioning, disintegrating, falling to the ground in pieces. And here, it's responsible for a wildfire. Not a large one, okay? The damage is minimal, but these are part of the dangers of these wind turbines. Now, who knows what the cause of this was? It could be improper maintenance, which, a lot of these people think you just pop in the ground and let it go. That's it. And that's not the case at all. My question too is, if we're going to put all these wind turbines in everywhere, this should be creating jobs, right? We should have people maintaining these things on a regular basis, right? If we're going to have these put up and funded by taxpayer dollars anyway, this is kind of negligence, in my opinion. Field where maybe is not monitored on a weekly basis at least, if not daily, just for this particular situation right here, so it doesn't happen. Like I said, fortunately, this is a remote area. No one was hurt, damaged, or anything like that. But again, just another piece of proof of how this green energy solution really has a lot of kinks to work out before we start implementing policies that ban oil, natural gas, and coal. And when I read the actual numbers on where our energy comes from, it was interesting to me because the New York State is passing a new policy that will ban natural gas, coal, and oil. By the way, 85% of the electricity we get is from those 3 sources. So the other 15% come from the combination of nuclear and hydro, and about 1 to 2% of our energy is coming from solar fields and wind turbines. I'm just trying to figure out how, last time I checked, a coal plant didn't have pieces of its plant collapsing and falling apart to the ground and causing wildfires. Same with natural gas plants. Yeah, they're dangerous. If you're not properly trained to work in them, you could cause probably a pretty catastrophic event if you don't know what you're doing out there. But these people are highly trained. They just don't hire anybody out there. I'm positive of it. The screening process is probably insane if you want to be a coal miner or any kind of natural gas field worker, oil rig worker. That's tough, hard work, guys. That's not just get out of high school and you go apply anywhere and they just hire you because you had a good interview. There is specialties required. And I feel like that if you're going to try to implement green energy, you have to hire special people to monitor these fields, these turbines, to maintenance them, to make sure that we don't have a reoccurring issue with these turbines just falling to the ground, collapsing, destroying the area around it. How fast does the new one get put up? How much investigation goes into one of these turbines blowing up? And oh, by the way, this solar power here is supposed to be so green it doesn't have any man-made CO2 emissions. Well, it doesn't have man-made at this point. It made its own CO2 emissions. But my point is, too many videos I've seen too many times where these turbines are either neglected and just left out into a field thinking they're just going to do their own thing and not properly maintenance and explode and cause damage like this. And this one happened to cause, look, 500 acres is a lot of acres to burn. It may not be the 300,000 acre fire that we've seen in the past, but still 500,000 acres burnt down because of maybe negligence of maintenance. We'll leave the link in the description. This one here, this is a good one. We always like to think that we all know what internet trolls are and how they live in mom and daddy's basement, and they live off of mommy and daddy. Mom and daddy buy them food, and mom and daddy also provide their internet, provide everything else for these little snowflakes who cause all these little problems here. But this guy here, a protester, is 20 years old. He's a green protester who caused chaos by gluing himself to a Brisbane street, still lives with his parents in a emission-spewing 5-bedroom mansion with an infinity pool. Extinction Rebellion protester Eric Serge Herbert glued himself to Brisbane Road. The 20-year-old former school captain moved to Sydney for uni but dropped out. He's now living with his parents in a 5-bedroom waterfront mansion in Queensland. The waterfront 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom mansion is Pelican Waters on the Sunshine Coast. Also comes with a freestanding aquarium, vacuum made, and a triple-lot garage and a pretty private jet as well. That's probably pretty, I'm sure. An average household in Australia emits 14 tons of carbon each year. While it can be hard to determine the exact carbon footprint of a household, it's widely accepted a larger house emits more. So if the average is 14 tons, we can only imagine how much this one puts out, if that even mattered in the first place. But Herbert has claimed on social media that he does not live with his parents. But during his first court appearance in June, the climate activist told the magistrate he lived with his parents who supported him. Now, a lot of you people out there are, people have said, well, if he lives with his parents, most people use their parents' address for court documentation. And I'll agree with you on that. But he actually told a magistrate that he lives at home where his parents support him. And what I find funny is that he was arrested for this little stunt here. And listen, I'm okay with protesting something you believe in. But the reason why that this little snowflake here mentioned to the magistrate that he lives with parents and that mommy and daddy support him, he is trying to paint the picture of poor little young me. Oh, I can't afford the court fines, for I have no job. I live at home with mom and dad. But yet I can go out and act like I know what I'm talking about and do stupid things like glue myself to a road a crosswalk nonetheless, causing traffic issues, causing taxpayers to pay for the 911 call of, looks like 2 idiots here glued to the road. So now you've held up a police officer or 2, maybe 4 or 5. And now the fire department probably comes out on all 911 calls just like ours. Then you've got an ambulance on standby. Ambulance ride here in the United States costs about $1,500 just to ride down about 5 miles away from your house to a hospital. I can't imagine what it would cost overseas, especially in a country that's already paying higher prices for their energy. But again, this guy who acts like a big guy, big shot, big boy, he's wearing a onesie pajama outfit, folks. How can you take people serious about something like this? To me is just notoriety. This is about getting his face in the news. This is all about attention. It's part of the problem with this society, with our civilization nowadays. Everybody wants instant gratification and instant notoriety on something. You got to work for it. This guy doesn't know what that means because he's painted the picture to the magistrate. Oh, please, Your Honor, don't punish me. I'm just a little boy who still lives with his parents. But
What kind of accent is that?
it's a snowflake Australian accent, okay? That's what kind of accent it is. That's what the snowflake Australian sounds like. Please, sir. It's like an Oliver Twist,
Okay.
a mix between Oliver Twist and the Green Party snowflake, who glues themselves to the concrete
Sorry, peanut gallery.
in a Walmart onesie animal character. Hey, I'm going to take my climate information serious from this guy right here. So we haven't done A-hole of the week in a while, and I think he gets it. He wins A-hole of the week. Not only does he live with his parents, but they have a mansion, waterfront property in Queensland, mansion. Good. And part of this whole green movement is about people who supposedly waste fossil fuel energy and who just burn fossil fuels irresponsible. But yet he lives in a mansion that probably takes about 3 to 6 times the power that it takes a normal household to be running, as far as that goes. I thought this was funny. So anyway, moving from ignorant news to some unfortunate news. I don't know if this link is available.
This
Where?
on the picture. Click on the picture.
Yeah, nothing's happening. So anyway, this was
On my Twitter, if you don't know my Twitter.
it's an article. It is on the Twitter for Grand Solar Minimum. I briefly read up on it. It caught my interest because I know Matt, he's out there harvesting winter wheat now. He was showing me how the process was moving along. They're in the very beginning stages of it as of early last week. About a week ago from today is when they started harvesting. But this article, and I'm going to urge everyone to go to our Twitter account after the broadcast, area farmers could lose up to 90% of winter wheat crop. Very important information there. This was up in Ottawa as well. So we may have luck here in Nebraska harvesting, but some folks up north are not having such luck there. Here is our crop report for this week, ending in July 21st. Again, we've seen lots of heavy moisture in the south. Missouri, from Barry, basically. These numbers here reflect the flooding and the moisture from that storm. 3 days of suitable work in Louisiana, 3.4 in Mississippi. Tennessee, 3.8. Ohio, you still got about a week's worth of work. Missouri, 5 days. The rest of the country's looking good. Minnesota, 3.8 days. That's about as far as the worst it gets is Louisiana with 3 days. Other than that, the rest of the country is in pretty good shape as far as suitable field work goes. Let's go ahead and check out the bulletin report here. Of course, the big one we're all waiting for is going to be when they resurvey in August. And we will check out the information from that resurvey. Again, here is the storm-related totals here from Hurricane Barry. I should say Tropical Storm Barry. It was a hurricane at Category 1 very briefly. before turning back into.
I fixed that link if you wanted to click on it.
All right. Thank you. On tropical storm Barry. So, anyway, moving through this crop report here real quick. Here we go. So the corn condition by percent starting to move up a little bit, but we notice in places like Indiana, poor condition crops for corn is 18%. Fair is 41% right now. 31% good, and only 4% is in excellent shape. Ohio, you're about the same as Indiana. You're lower, actually. 31% is rated good, 42% is rated fair, 17% is in poor condition, while 6% of Ohio's corn crop is very poor. Let's check out Illinois. 39% is good, 39% is also fair, 14% in poor shape, and 4% in very poor shape, with only 4% reporting in excellent shape. Another area that we're looking at low numbers, Missouri. %29 good, 39% fair, 20% poor, and 8% very poor. Now, I do believe the numbers for the corn crop are a little bit worse than we've probably been reporting in the past. Only 4% reported is excellent, by the way. So by far right now, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Missouri are looking at the worst corn crop conditions in the United States right now. Just 4 states. Michigan, you're number 5. 34% good, 37% fair, and 17% poor. So we'll make that state number 5 there. Everybody else is kind of in okay shape. Texas, obviously, you're in good shape. Tennessee's in good shape. Believe it or not, Pennsylvania, North Dakota, not so bad. 65% rated good. 28% rated excellent in Tennessee. So by far, Tennessee, and I've been saying this since we've been watching this crop report, Tennessee has, and Texas and Oklahoma have outshined the rest of this country this year as far as our crop report has come in. Of course, Oklahoma not even on the list right now, which either means to me they are coming in at really good numbers or it's just too bad to even report. Soybeans, take a look at that real fast. Arkansas, 38% rated good, 18% excellent. So about 56% there. Now, next month, they're expecting the good to excellent percent of crops to be below 55% nationwide, which is very troubling because last year, this time, we were at 75% good and excellent rated crops. Huge drop-off from last year. Fears about July's numbers are even worse. Soybean crops not doing much better in the states that are doing poor in corn. Ohio, you take the cake. 27% of your soybean crop is good. Only 3% is rated excellent. 42% is rated fair. And 20% rated poor, along with 8% very poor. So again, some very alarming news out of Ohio. Not only is your corn crops in bad shape, but as well as your soybean. Let's take a look, see who else kind of falls in that category that we need to kind of keep an eye on. Missouri, your situation with soybeans doesn't get much better from your crops in the corn. 42% rated fair, 13% poor, and 3% very poor. Let's take a look at Indiana. Their soybean situation about as bad as their corn. 32% rated good, 40% fair, 17% rated at 4, and 7% at very poor. Illinois, another low number, 40% good, 37% fair, 13% poor, and 5% very poor. By the way, Illinois' excellent is also 5%. So in some cases, some of these states have a better excellent percentage in their crops versus their very poor. But places like Indiana, the very poor outranks the excellent. Surprisingly, Louisiana does not. Michigan, same thing. The excellent outweighs the very poor. Missouri slightly edges the excellent with their very poor percentages higher, along with states like Ohio. And that looks like to be it, really. So, again, the soybean crop is doing a little bit better than what we've seen from our corn producers. Again, we'll leave the crop report here at thegrandsolarminimum.com. Let me go ahead and refresh this, folks. Bear with me here. All right. There we go.
Michigan.
Ottawa, Michigan. I said up north, so at least I didn't say Canada. Oak Harbor, a train whistle blasted the distance as Ron Laubacher did something he doesn't normally do. Sprint. One of the few Ottawa County farmers harvesting wheat last week, Laubacher needed to make it to the opposite side of the tracks or Benton Carroll Road before the train arrived. He had to talk to his friend, Lynn, a retiree who helps with the harvest. Time is precious this year for county farmers who are able to plant and are battling the elements to get their crops out of the ground. Trains periodically zip past the field on adjacent tracks. Threatening clouds and increasing chance of rain push Laubacher to finish fast. He says, I could lose it if I don't get it done. And this is what he said last week. He also noted ominous clouds perched overhead and likelihood of afternoon thunderstorms. Heavy rains saturated fields this spring caused significant pain, with some farmers unable to plant at all and others like Laubacher struggling to work around delayed planting schedules and tight harvesting windows. Winter wheat losses could range from 80 to 90% in Ottawa County here in Michigan, says Mike Libben, the administrator of Ottawa Soil and Water Conservation District. Libben also farms wheat. He lost half of his wheat crops this winter, with one field succumbing to this year's disastrous winter. So there you have just one example of a part of the country where we are seeing some major crop loss here. To hear 80 to 90% of the winter wheat crop could be lost. Over and over again, we've reported on this show, farmers have been battling the elements, the late plant. Some haven't even planted all. Seems to be the headlines this year for 2019. And I know not all farmers are going through this right now. But let's admit for 1 minute, though, we have seen a lot more of this in our news than we have ever seen, that we could remember anyway. Well, let me take that back. You're not getting this information from mainstream media. You're getting this information from alternative media. That's what I'd like to consider ourselves. Most channels on YouTube are fantasy or just whatever, comedy. Some channels actually care about the truth and want to get information out, so there are some that you can rely on. I believe that's up to you to make up your mind on. I'm not going to sit here and give you a list of reputable channels that you should listen to and shouldn't listen to. But the point I'm making here is that nobody is talking about this in the mainstream media, yet we can still find these articles, if we dig for them, on our internet. So it's not fake news. It's just information that local media is reporting that the major national networks are refusing to report on. Plain and simple, folks. Plain and simple. All right, guys. Also wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. I'm going to read this word for word here. Thank you to Mari, by the way, who set this up. It says, I am starting this fundraiser for Dr. Valentina Zarkova and her research team. Her work pushes the boundaries of traditional science. She was one of very few who accurately predicted the low activity of solar cycle 24. Actual proof there. The next modern grand minimum of solar activity is upon us from 2020 to 2055. Her forecast should be used to help prepare society in making adaptations, address challenges that come with grand solar minimums. Looking at history, it is clear the Earth-Sun system goes through many different changes: weakened magnetosphere, disturbed weather patterns, cosmic ray, cloud nucleation, ocean oscillations, volcanism, etc., etc. Empires have risen and fallen with several grand cycles. We must learn from our history. Our food supply, our livelihood is directly threatened by these changes. Understanding and forecasting our sun's activity is important for all beings on this planet. Please support Dr. Zarkova's research. All money raised goes directly to her and her research team. Team Zarkova's latest research, oscillations of the baseline of the solar magnetic field and solar irradiance on a millennial timescale, clearly shows many AGW alarmists out there how warming is natural. And what she means by that is we found a warming of 0.5 degrees Celsius per 100 years over the next 600 years. Mari goes on and writes up a pretty nice little article here giving us proof, also referencing other folks as well. This group of alarmists is trying to get her paper unpublished. These men with their minds closed to real science hang on to AGW theories as if it were a religion. They are trying to take her paper down, though they exhibit very little understanding of the research behind SIM. Valentina Zarkova is a professor of mathematics at Northumbria. She has a BSc and an MSc in applied mathematics and astronomy and a PhD in astrophysics and a certificate in project management. She graduated from the National University of Kiev in Ukraine in 1975 with a BSc and an MSc first class with distinction degree in applied mathematics and physics joint honors. Key publications, also line for this recent one here with her team and scientific reports, and nature.com, non-thermal hydrogen line and continuum emission in solar flares generated by electron beams. Also gives the authors. It's Zarkova. This was March in 2019. And when we talk to Valentina, and by the way, go to this link here on the website. This will be able to show the people that are donating and why they are supporting Dr. Zarkova. And we have as well supported Dr. Zarkova. We made a donation to her for her work, for her research. And the reason why we wanted to start this for her is because of, so far, Dr. Valentina Zarkova has been bullied nonstop since her paper was released on June 24th here in 2019 on nature.com. Zarkova's work could be the beginning of many, many papers using this paper as an example of how to forecast solar cycles, the intensity, and what's coming to us in the future. This paper, in my opinion, is very, very important and could be a foundation of several more papers to be written in the future that will be related to climate and solar activity. So again, this is directly goes to Dr. Valentina Zarkova, and we have set a goal here already. So far, we've raised $200 for her. We just started this fundraiser this afternoon. So thank you to those who have already donated to a cause that, honestly, this woman well deserves. The abuse that she is taking, the constant bullying that she's getting from, basically, in my opinion, jealous scientists from all over the world who really just are upset that a woman of her stature, she's not a confrontational person. She's not, she doesn't start controversy. Her work found the results. She didn't go looking for anything. Her work led her to these results. Anyway, we feel it's important to support people like her, and we hope you join us in this cause. All right, guys, sit tight. We will be right back with the weather part of our broadcast. Don't go anywhere.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.
All right, so here we are, checking out some weather news here. Wisconsin microburst down so many trees, the damage can be seen from space. And we had a detro, what do you call those? A decaro? We had one of those go through the state, along with other storms with high winds. Destructive thunderstorm winds damaged tens of thousands of trees in northern Wisconsin on Friday night. Yeah, this is the storm I was talking about. Left a scar in heavily forested region visible from space. You can see the large area of tree damage between the areas of July 22nd and before and after comparison above. It's pointed out by Scott Boschmeyer, a research meteorologist at the Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies. Notice how the zone where the tree damage occurred appears lighter compared to the same area than before in the images from July 11th. You can take a look at it here on thegrandsolarminimum.com. Talking about what's happening right now. Record cold in July, unusually strong midsummer cold front refreshes plains and south. And yes, here in the Northeast, we also, today I was actually in meetings all day with my district manager, and we were coming out of a location that we manage, and just walking outside was such a literally a breath of fresh air. It felt wonderful today, considering on how hot and muggy it was all weekend for most of us here in the Midwest and the Northeast and the South. I mean, it was brutal for some of us folks out here. But a cold front has taken an unusually far southward plunge by late July standards. This has brought cooler and less humid air far south as the parts of the Gulf Coast and Texas. That's right, folks. Texas is feeling it tonight, folks. An unusually potent plush of cool, dry air by late July standards will be set daily record lows across the plains and south this week. A welcome break from summer's heat and humidity. Let's talk about that real quick. When we broadcasted our broadcast last week, I believe it was Thursday night, we were talking about the heat wave. And I want to apologize to my listeners for reporting on this heat wave. I didn't really even think about it until watching others in the community speak of it as well. Folks, we were told by multiple news agencies over the weekend that we were in a heat wave, but yet they were not displaying the actual real-time surface temps. In other words, to beef up this low-grade 90-degree invasion weather, we had to show the real feel to tell everyone, 91 just doesn't seem that hot. But when you say it's 108 degrees on the heat index, well, watch out. Now, I get it. It's still dangerous. You still have heat warnings when you have heat indices that high. But as several other people have pointed out in this community, heat waves are not heat waves anymore. 3 days is the criteria. That's the minimum. But 2012, a lot of places, I remember, good Lord, the month of July in southern Tennessee, I don't think my AC unit went off. The entire month of July, it was on 24/7. It was so hot. It was so humid. That's a heat wave. 2012. 3 days of 90 degrees and triple-digit heat indices. That's hot weather. That's go get in the lake and play around in the pool for the whole day. That's don't go outside and do strenuous activities for a long period of time. I bumped into a roofer and asked him how he was going to adapt to working on Saturday. And a lot of folks out there are probably like, well, you would catch me on a roof during a 94-degree excessive heat warning. But if you're a roofer, A, you wear long sleeves. B, that way when you start sweating and the wind blows up there, you feel it even better. It cools you off quicker. But not only that, and this goes back to how we've talked about on this channel, for the grand solar minimum conditions to survive, we have to adapt. Just like roofers and other construction workers, they will adapt to the climate as well. What are you talking about, Jay, right? I'm dragging this out too long. So instead of this gentleman taking Saturday off and letting his employees sitting home in the cool AC of their homes, they're out on roofs at 5:30 in the morning when the sun's up. Brilliant. Out here in upstate New York, I don't know what the ordinances are, but he's got his guys on the job site at 5:30 in the morning when the sunlight comes out so they can begin their work. And honestly, put in about 7 hours of real work by the time it's time to wrap it up. around 11:30 noon, now you're starting to feel the heat. Now you're starting to feel the humidity. Now it's time to get off the roof. But I applaud this roofer for dedication. Obviously, he makes money doing this for a living. But this is the kind of attitude we have to have for what's about to happen. I spoke to some people today that I'm acquainted with, and they kind of chuckled at me when I called Bill Nye the science fraud guy. And we had a private talk, the five of us, and talked about my reason for making that claim about Bill Nye. And I kind of quickly went into a few things. Briefly, what happens during grand solar minimums. You know, shorter summers, shorter growth seasons, colder and longer winters, more floods, more snow, colder temperatures in the winter, cooler summers in some regions, and shorter growth seasons will eventually lead to crop loss. I was able to show him the chart with the CO2 still rising and the temperature dropping, and also showed him a couple of pictures of some Walmarts with empty shelves in the peas and green beans in the potato section. Some of these people actually work in retail stores and recognize those signs immediately. But all I said to them when they asked me why I thought Bill Nye was lying about climate, I asked a simple question. What if I showed you the raw data that shows different? Then what would you say? And impressively, the gentleman replied to me, he says, I'd definitely be willing to listen. I would be interested in that. If you could show me the real data that contradicts what we've been taught for the last 30 years, I'm ready to hear it. And that to me is an indication that I think some people are now starting to be aware of how strange the weather is and how bad some of these storms are and the flooding. They've never seen anything like this. And now it's just too much for them to ignore. So they want answers too. And I provided them with the most basic and scientific explanation I could give. And I think a few people are now hooked on the information and are currently viewing the information on the website as we speak. But if you ever find yourself in that conversation with a group of people and you talk about, well, how can you prove this? Well, how do I know? Guys, just tell them. Just be honest. What if I could show you the raw data that tells you otherwise? Then what would you think? And if you're telling someone that you're going to give them proof, I mean, they're going to jump all over it. Most of you out there are critical thinkers, very logical people, good heads on your shoulders. I assume you surround yourself with people like-minded. So it shouldn't be that difficult to communicate to your friends and family who are also like-minded and critical thinking like you. Just tell them, I can show you the raw data. I can show you the truth and the proof that I have that shows that man's not controlling the climate. TheGrandSolarMinimum.com is a wonderful resource tool for you folks. I can't stress that enough. Of course I'm biased. It's my website. But we have information, and just to kind of brag here for a little bit, I know we're on a broadcast. So many things. We're still working on the community, the social profile, the Facebook-like features. Then we have space weather. We have global weather, national radars. Then we have GSM resources, a glossary that Mari is building, the crop reports, climate blogs, Climate Depot, Mark Moran, David Dilley, Dr. Roy Spencer, No Trick Zone, Per Stradberg, Cooling News, Piers Corbin. Then you got your volcanoes and earthquakes. Folks, everything here on this website is all you need to track and observe on what's happening right now. If you have questions, chances are you're going to find the answers on this website as well. And if not from us, you could reach out to other individuals who share this information as well. We also include our beloved David Birch, the Starman's Twitter feed on our website as well. And this guy has been a treasure trove of information for this channel and many others in the Grand Solar Minimum community to help understand what's happening and what's going to continue to happen. I'd like to say that if you guys do decide to subscribe to our channel, or maybe become a Patreon member or donate to the channel, I'd like to say that you're in an area where you will get the answer. You'll get the truth, and it won't be anything overhyped. It won't be anything over sensationalized. It'll be the facts and nothing but the facts, as we've always tried to keep this standard on our channel. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at tropical tidbits here, folks. The moisture is leaving the United States, the majority of it anyway. We've got some rain showers we're dealing with going into Wednesday, some severe weather possible for the Carolinas into Virginia, parts of the South. Also, scattered showers in Michigan and back in parts of Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin. But as we move through the week, Wednesday, July 24th, high pressure sits right over the middle. So this dry weather, folks, in Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, all those areas, very welcome. Scattered rain does move in by the Thursday on the 25th, but quickly dissipates, and that high pressure continues to dominate as it shoots off in the Atlantic, kind of hangs around the East Coast, keeping things dry through Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Tennessee. The South, you're starting to get a little bit wetter now. High pressure moves off into the Atlantic. Showers developing in the Great Lakes, and by the time we get to July 28th is when the South and the Midwest can expect more precipitation. So the good news for the majority of us in the Plain States is we are going to have a dry week for a change. And as we wind up July, we do see showers and storms back in the forecast, but that's 8 to 10 days out into the Midwest and into the Northeast. By August 1st, another high-pressure system is going to try to take over in the United States, keeping things a little moist on the East Coast on August 1st, but still mainly dry across the Plain States. Going into August 2nd, some showers and thunderstorms roll into the Great Lakes, Wisconsin, Michigan, parts of Ohio, parts of Pennsylvania, and the mid-Atlantic states. Again, dry weather for the Central Plains, the Midwest. Folks, this is looking good. If you're a farmer in those areas, towards the second week of August, we do see a line of moisture begin to kind of inundate the same area over and over again. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio River. Got to watch that there. That's the second week of August. And as that high pressure finally moves out of the lower 48, low pressure settles in once again by the second week of August, late second week of August. A decent sized low pressure system forms across the central Plain States, moving across into the Midwest. And at this point, with this, looking at this right here, we do expect to see moisture to spread eastward as we continue in August. So I think some encouraging news here for farmers in the Midwest. Mainly dry for the most part. Some scattered showers across the northern plains. Get to the 27th, the 28th, some scattered showers across the Midwest and the South are possible. Heavy rain across Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. But as we get to August 1st, we dry out again. Besides the northern Great Lakes, that pattern shift as far as rain goes, for the most part, guys, is staying in the Southwest where it is typically in its monsoon season. Let's go ahead and take a look at some temperature readings, because I know we've got some changes. We saw light 80s through late July, and that changed a little bit. Right now, we are experiencing some amazing weather after this heat wave. 70s and 80s for the rest of the week here across Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. And then we start to warm up as we get closer to the weekend. Nowhere near as hot as last weekend, but we're going to still see some low 80s, mid 80s in most of the parts of the country. The 90s and 100s will stay into the South. And then another cold front kind of makes a dip through Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. Not as far deep as this previous cold front, as we are still technically in the dog days of summer. Some heat returning to the Central Plains, and this is much needed for people in Nebraska and Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas, parts of Arkansas and Missouri as well, but we really need that consistent heat all over Nebraska and Iowa as well. Illinois and Indiana could sure use some of it as well, and it's just not going to get there Look at this, guys. Look at what the GFS is suggesting for the second week of August in the Northeast. August 5th, daytime highs, 70s. August 6th, there's your nighttime lows. Daytime highs, upper 50s in upstate New York. 68 degrees for a high on August 6th. 50 degrees for your low August 7th. Daytime high on August 7th is going to be 69 degrees in the Albany capital region. Look at the cooler weather across Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and the Northeast region. Normal summer temps in Texas, Oklahoma, and parts of Kansas. And then some normal summer heat returning to the region as the jet stream will balance back out to its typical summer pattern. But I'm looking at temperatures in Ohio in the mid-70s, August 8th. It almost feels like anything in this region from here all the way to the East Coast, all this right here, I have a feeling that we are going to see the colder temperatures in this region first. We will see our first snowfall, first freeze in this particular region in the United States. Can't guarantee it, but I just have a hunch. Especially in the Northeast region, for real. Surprised to see the temperature readings actually go that far low. All right, so this is usually a part of the show where I bring Mari on to say hello to everyone who is out there in the chat. I know she's been on duty tonight. Here is Mari. Mari, would you like to say hello to our lovely fans tonight?
Hello, lovely fans tonight. Man, have quite an active crowd in the chat, and we've seen some subscribers I haven't seen in a while. Lady T gave us an update on her container garden. She says it's an absolute failure. She's been struggling with it. I'm so sorry to hear that. I know she was working on some potatoes, and she said they were looking good for a bit, and now she has come back weeks later and said epic fail. So I'm very sorry to hear that. Shirley says she is now stocking up on dry beans and rice. That's very awesome to hear people actually taking action and doing just little small steps like that go a long way. I have an article on our website about how to store beans, rice, all that with oxygen absorbers, Mylar bags. Very affordable way to get prepped and just get started on stocking up your food supply. Thor, he says it's 68 degrees in Maine, and looks like the AGW wingers are looking pretty sheepish right now. It was short-lived for them, eh?
It was.
So, yeah, we have cold waves coming in. It's just wacky weather, and this is part of the disturbed weather patterns that we see going into Grand Solar Minute. When you think it's weird now, just wait. Oh, let's see. We have a beekeeper, Marco. He's having the best honey harvest ever right now. Flow is on heavy and the bees are working like crazy. That's really, really great to hear people having bees. And I don't know, we haven't really seen a lot of bees around here, have we?
I haven't seen any.
Which is
bees.
Strange because we have a lot of
bees
flowers
out here.
Yeah.
Usually you're swatting at least the yellow jackets, but I haven't even seen those either.
I haven't, and oh, that puppy is hard work. And they're like, oh, and I'm just like, yeah, it was Jake's idea. As I chase around the puppy during the live show behind you while they WWE wrestle.
Go ahead and put them in a room and shut the door. You know that.
But then they whine. It's awful.
Well, we can't pick that up on the
I'd like to thank SoulQuest for your super chat. They're from Ohio. I was saying how much I love Ohio. They're actually from Cleveland. And I said, Cleveland rocks. And someone came in and was like, ugh, I can't stand Cleveland. And I understand both sides, but we are big Cleveland fans, aren't we, Jake?
Well, I'm from Ohio. Grew up watching Cleveland football all my life. So those of you who are from Cleveland, Ohio, I know you're excited about August 8th, as I am. But, hey, guys, listen. Just because we're in a grand solar minimum doesn't mean we need to stop living our lives, too. The most important thing is to get ready for this event. But we also have to remember to take time to find some small, simple pleasures as well.
A lot of people are talking about moving south where it's warmer, and I'm just like, gosh, if everyone's going to move down south, I might just brave the snow and learn how to garden in the snow.
It's going to be crowded down there, too.
Some people are agreeing. Maybe we should, start like a North Country gardening club. Who knows? It would be great. I'm glad you showed off the website. It's a work in progress.
There's a lot to do.
I have so many projects on my plate. It's sometimes I get a little frozen. I don't know which way to look. I'm overwhelmed at times, and the website is really awesome. GSM Social, no one's really using it. There was a really lovely girl from, I believe, Australia. She was using it, and I've neglected it because no one's using the social aspect. Let's use it. You can post pictures, and you have a wall just like Facebook and everything, but it's not big brotherized like Facebook. It's another social media platform we could probably use to sort of network together and share ideas. I don't know if I have anything else. About the Valentina Zarkova donation, I really has bothered me to see the criticism of her paper. I've dug into these criticisms to try to gain understanding what these people are talking about. And it turns out that the people criticizing her paper lack the understanding of the paper and the celestial mechanics of the paper. And she's going to have a public statement on that. And I just want to make sure that she's supported and her team supported. And a lot of people were saying the other way, direct having her donation go to the bank was too difficult. They wanted an easier way to donate funds. So I figured this would be the easiest way to do it. If you can support her, please do. I don't think there's a cap on the goal. It's just she appreciates everything that we can do, and I don't know exactly what she's going to be using the funds for, but she has a decent amount stored up that this channel has helped bring into her, and whatever the GoFundMe account brings to her. And, it's exciting, her research, what her next paper, what she's going to build on from this paper, because she's really trying to bring other specialties into her specialty. With climatology, it's not just one aspect. You're dealing with several different professions trying to work together to gain understanding.
The main reason for the fundraiser, too, is she's the one sticking her neck out there. She's the one taking the abuse. She's the one putting all the work and the time. We're simply here just trying to transmit the message. But she's the one that's done the real work. She's the one that's going through this tedious process that she's had to go through over the past several months. So we just felt like the least bit we could do is show some kind of appreciation for her hard work and dedication to this topic.
Yeah. So if you can support her, that's great. If you can't, please share the GoFundMe link to others who may be able to just contribute to science. If there's anyone to contribute to in the Grand Solar Minimum community, why not the top astrophysicists researching this topic and how our sun works. She unveiled the heartbeat of the sun in her paper, 2014, 2015, and she's one of few who accurately predicted what the activity for solar cycle 24 would be. I recently tweeted that paper out that shows it's interesting reading that paper, looking back how accurate her predictions were. So she definitely has our full support on this channel. Let me see if I got anything else. Oh, Thor is already seeing leaves turn yellow. So that's concerning to me. We have not seen that here.
I have seen that on my drive on the Northway here in 87. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with UV rays. I have seen yellow leaves on trees as well. So we'll continue to look for that. I make the drive several times a week. So that's interesting that it's being seen elsewhere. Of course, Thor, you're in Maine, so that would be more reasonable for me to see that up there. But here in New York, also in the Northway.
Not this time of year, though. That seems very early.
We'll have to look into that a little more.
With the temperature swings, who knows?
Yeah.
We got fungal issues and all kinds of weird stuff with our trees. And one last shout out to Concerned Canadian, because he has tried to wrangle up as many likes as possible for this video today, and he did succeed in getting us over 100. So thank you, Cece.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mari, for that quick update on what was going on in the chat. We appreciate everyone's support, and we got a lot of you who tune in almost every time we go live. We shifted the schedule a little bit. Now we're doing Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday afternoons during the day, so we can kind of meet the needs of other people around the world who would like to catch a live broadcast. And we've had some pretty good numbers as far as people showing up to watch the live feed on Sundays. So we will continue that schedule for you guys. Until then, we will talk soon, guys. Take care.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up.